Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. I hope you're having a great week so far. I know it's only Monday, but a great start to your week. So here we are finally doing my list. We are doing my top 10 horror films of all time. I have wanted to do this list for so long, but I keep on putting it off because my life is 99% procrastination. So I thought today is the day. Let's start off the week with a positive note, which is my love for horror basically. So I can honestly say that horror is pretty much my favorite genre of film. When I was growing up, it used to be more kind of like gangster kind of thriller movies, but I guess growing up I'm more of a gruesome girl, so I love horror films. And obviously today I'm going to be sharing my list, and like my kind of top 10 favorite films of all time, I have a lot of my DVD/Blu-rays with me, but because a lot of my stuff is kind of in my storage, I couldn't find everything. But majority, I'd say about 90% of the DVDs I have with me right here, so that's more of a positive. But yeah, let's just get started with number 10. Let's just start with the top one. So obviously, I've had this in my top 10 favorite films of all time. But again, it's going to be my number 10 because I don't want to put this, I can't put this any like lower than any it is really. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, number 10 is Hereditary. It was number 10 in my top films of all time. I said on countless occasions how much I love this film. I know it's more new, so this is like the newest horror film that we have in my list because everything else is very iconic, very old school. But why I love this is just the cast, the kind of twists and turns. I'm not going to talk about spoilers or anything, so no worries. But I was just blown away when I saw this, and I know it's a very obvious choice these days to talk about this film, but honestly, every time I watch it, you see new things. That's what I love about certain psychological horror films as well, that they're not just there to scare you, they're there to like, did I just see that? Did I just see that? Did I, is that real? What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. But again, everyone in this film's amazing. I have such a soft spot for Gabriel Byrne growing up. Obviously, he's in my favourite film, Usual Suspects. And seeing him in this, I was just like, another reason to watch it. And obviously, Toni Collette should have got an Oscar nomination, but who are we to kind of question that? But yeah, amazing. If you haven't seen it, please go and see it. Please go and see it. No, it's not in the cinemas, obviously, but please watch it. Like, you've probably got some free time now, so please check it out. So then my number 9 is a collection as opposed to just one singular film because I couldn't narrow down this. So they are my Universal Monsters, and this is my gorgeous box set. This is one of my prized possessions. If there was ever a fire, this was one of the first things I would take out of it because it is the most beautiful collection ever. It's like a little, obviously it's shaped like a coffin, and it contains all like the Universal Monsters, but not the original Phantom of the Opera, so I'm not sure what happened in that aspect. But you've got Claude Rains, who was the Invisible Man, is also playing Phantom of the Opera, but his Phantom of the Opera is not kind of in my list. It's more the Lon Chaney original one. But yeah, the Universal Monsters as a collection, I did put Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein in my top favourite films of all time. But because I love all of these so much, I couldn't just nitpick just one or two because I feel that they work as a collection. Obviously, there's some that are much more, higher up ranking for me, but that doesn't mean that any less of a good film. But yeah, essentially all these movies are like an hour and 20 minutes, hour, 10 minutes, so they don't really take up much of your time, and they are amazing. They're great movies, and they were such pioneering for horror, basically. So yeah, number 9 is the Universal Monsters selection. And then we go to number 8, which is an old school favourite of mine. A lot of people might not agree with me on this, but that's fine. It's Bram Stoker's Dracula. It is, God, I love this movie so much. It is honestly one of my favourite films of all time. That's the same picture. I was going to see if there was anything different. It's not. My favourite poster of all time and the most iconic poster for me when it comes to horror is from Bram Stoker's Dracula is the gargoyle, and I have that framed. I used to have it in my room on the back of my door, and I had it on the back of my door for like 10 years, and then obviously I've moved out of my parents' house and it's in a frame, but I haven't been able to take it out of like my box because I've got nowhere to put it in my tiny room. But yeah, Gary Oldman is, I would say, my favourite Dracula of all time because he's just so amazing. He's so campy, so over the top, he's so crazy, which is why I love this Dracula so much. And I know a lot of people are not big fans of like Keanu Reeves in this movie, but I think he does quite a decent job. Like his accent is pretty terrible, obviously. But you know, English accents may not be, accents are probably not his kind of strongest aspect, which is fine, but I still think he does quite a decent job. And even seeing someone like Tom Waits in this is amazing. He is one of my favorite musicians of all time. He is just an amazing, crazy poet, and if you have never listened to his music, please do. It's amazing. But yeah, seeing him in this as Renfield is fantastic. Coppola is one of my favorite directors of all time. Winona Ryder is good in this. You know, it's not her kind of strongest role, but she does quite a decent job as Mina, which is awesome. I don't really know what else to say. Yeah, I love it. It's a movie that I could continuously watch again and again. And I probably will do. I might watch it later on today. And then we come to number 7, which is Hellraiser, which is the first Hellraiser. This is my gorgeous box set. And can we just appreciate my t-shirt as well? I'll just show you guys. So this is obviously number 3, which is Hell on Earth, but I'm more into like the first one. Also, this t-shirt is from a website called Hell on Shirts, and they are on Instagram, and they basically, I think once a month, they come up with a new t-shirt design for like pre-order, and then they print to like how many people pre-order it. They've done some amazing t-shirts. I think at the moment they've got one on The Thing, which is awesome, and they've done so many like iconic kind of 80s and 70s horror film. They even did one on Natural Born Killers, which I wish I had bought, but I didn't because I'm trying to save my money. I'm not trying to spend money. But essentially this one is, these t-shirts are like 15 quid, and you get a back print as well, which is amazing. But yeah, check them out, Hell on Shirts. I'll try and leave a link or whatever, but they're a fantastic website, and follow them on Instagram as well. But Hellraiser, yes. The first one directed by Clive Barker, who obviously wrote the story as well for Hellbound Heart. I read the book much later on. Like, I only read the book like 2 years ago, I think, and obviously reading it, and it's so different from the film itself, which I think is quite good. I mean, the lead Cenobite is female, and I don't know why I said it like that, female. But yeah, I think the film itself is amazing. The characters are excellent. I think Julia's such a great villain. I think the woman who plays her, I can't remember her name, sorry, but she is amazing in it. And just, yeah, the other two, I mean, the other two I like, but then when it comes to everything else, I haven't seen them. I've seen like commentary channels kind of talk about them, like film review channels, like Phalus. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a really funny kind of YouTuber. He's spoken about the last two, and I think he's done one on like the whole Hellraiser Revolution, which is like one of the more, which was like the recent one, obviously without Doug Bradley. I don't know if I want to see them. It looks kind of terrible, but maybe one day I'll see it. But yeah, the first Hellraiser, just amazing. And like the graphic, like not the graphics, but kind of like the special effects are just fantastic. Like the whole scene of Frank coming out of the ground and he's being like the slime and like everything, and it was just fantastic. And on this box set you get a really good documentary called Leviathan, and it just interviews kind of everyone partaking in the film and just talking about their kind of time, and all the special effects guys and everything else. And you know, I mean, yeah, 2 and 3 are good. I mean, 3 is so like so cheesy, so tongue-in-cheek. That's kind of when Pinhead got to be a bit of a joke, really. Like it's the kind of the same with like the whole Freddy movies. A lot of those I haven't seen, but I've seen like reviews on them. Anyway, I'll talk more about Freddy later on. But yeah, Hellraiser, one of my favourites. That is number 7. Number 6 is a DVD Blu-ray that I don't have on me. It's somewhere upstairs. It's The Thing by John Carpenter. It is probably one of the most iconic horror films of all time. It's probably a movie that makes me kind of claustrophobic, because you have these group of guys who are just stuck in this kind of location, nowhere to go, it's snowing, it's freezing, and then all hell breaks loose and they don't know what the hell is going on, and everything that starts happening is just batshit crazy. I mean, that whole kind of transformation with the dog, it really upsets me, that scene, because those, like the cries of the dogs is so obviously nerve-wracking, but obviously I know that's the point. But it is, you know, just it's beautiful to kind of watch the transformation as well, because it's so insane. And yeah, Kurt Russell is, you know, he's just amazing. I love Keith David as well, he's fantastic in that. Both really kind of like actors who pop up a lot in John Carpenter movies. But yeah, check out The Thing if you haven't seen it. I mean, I only saw it for the first time, I'd say about 8-9 years ago. I saw it at the Prince Charles, which is probably one of the most perfect ways to watch it for the first time. That's in London if you've never been to Prince Charles before. But it's a great cinema. And yeah, just The Thing is very iconic. I mean, that the kind of movie they made a few years ago, which is like a prequel, not really up there with me, I'm afraid. Like, I watched it in the cinema and I was a bit like, this is just the same film. Like, what is the point of watching this film when you could just watch The Thing instead? So that is what you should do instead. So don't watch The Thing 2000 something, watch John Carpenter's The Thing. Excellent. So we're coming up to number 5 DVD that I do have, Blu-ray. It is what we spoke about earlier, Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger, amazing. Wes Craven, iconic. He is amazing. Obviously Scream is up there as well, but when it comes to like actual what horror means to me, it's like, it's movies like this. I watched this quite recently with my husband because he hadn't seen it in such a long time. And obviously he's been playing a lot of a game called Dead by Daylight, and Freddy is one of the kind of killers. And watching, and it's quite annoying because it's the new Freddy, it's not the Robert Englund one, which is quite annoying, but I guess because of rights, etc. But this movie is just stunning, it's shocking, it's amazing. That scene when Johnny Depp gets killed and his blood just comes up from the bed, that is probably just one of the most iconic horror kills of all time. And also kind of towards the middle as well, like the girl who, oh, what's her name? It's not Lindsay. No, not Lindsay. What was Halloween? I can't. Why my brain has just gone to sleep. But when the girl gets killed and she's like going up the room and, you know, just upside down and everything, that's just fucking awesome. And obviously her in like that body bag as well, when she's like calling over Nancy and stuff, it's just fantastic. And just the whole build up of meeting Freddy, like seeing him properly, and obviously you get to see him quite early on in the film, which is quite interesting. But then there's kind of mystery around it, and just kind of the movie itself is so iconic. And I love number 3 as well. That one and this one obviously are just amazing, because number 2, I don't understand what the hell that film is. I've watched it I think I've watched it a really long time ago, but when it came to number 3, I was just like, this movie is amazing. It obviously is kind of on par with number 1 as well, but I think obviously number 1 is more iconic, but number 3 still has like amazing aspects to it. So that is my number 5. And then we're coming to my number 4, which is you know, when it came out, it was quite controversial because the actual writer itself, he didn't like it. I mean, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's The Shining. Directed by like my favourite director of all time, Stanley Kubrick. It is just the most insane horror film ever. And when I was younger, I never really used to call it a horror film because it's such a psychological thriller, because you're like, a lot of people like now kind of like, we're cooped up, we can't go anywhere. Obviously the movie itself is a bit more, you know, there's a lot more to it than just being inside and not going anywhere. But the kind of psychological aspect of, you're stuck with 2 people and you just kind of, you're on the cusp of kind of writing a book, and you're just recovering from alcoholism, and you know, you're just trying to get your life back into normal gear. But then when it comes to someone like Jack Nicholson, that's not going to happen. I think when watching this film when I was much younger, I was just a bit like, this isn't scary. But then when you think about it, there's certain aspects in there, like when he goes into that room and that woman's there, and obviously turns into this hag, I guess what it is, that used to kind of freak me out a lot. Not because she was naked, but most of all because it was just a really freaky scene. That laugh, oh my god, is just like, it kind of just haunts you when he's like getting out of that room and she's like laughing at him. And obviously the scene with the elevator and the two girls, you're kind of like, this is crazy shit. But the ending is just amazing when he is obviously going through the maze, and just, I feel so sorry for Danny because he's been going through some shit. I haven't seen Doctor Sleep yet, but it's meant to be good, so I'll definitely check it out. I think it came out on DVD today or whatever. I had to check it out, and read the book for The Shining a few years ago, and obviously it is obviously very, very different. I just kind of understood why Stephen King was quite angry at Kubrick for it, but then I guess when you give up your kind of your rights to kind of someone else to film it and they change it, not much you can do. But yes, that is my number 4. And then we come to number 3. It's a double one because I couldn't choose which one to put in my list, but it's Alien/Aliens. So growing up, I was more of a fan of Aliens because I just love the whole action aspect of it. It's such a kind of epic movie. Obviously, James Cameron likes to be quite over the top with his movies, which is pretty good. I mean, watching Aliens even today and seeing the Queen, oh my god, like that shit would still scares me. But obviously now growing up, I appreciate Alien just a little bit more because of the kind of, you know, the kind of anxiety aspect of it, knowing, again, a bit like The Shining, where you're kind of isolated in this ship and, you know, you're wanting to go home, you're wanting to go and see your family, but you've been told to kind of change it up a little bit and you have to go and check out something. But then when you're stuck on the ship because there's a creature there, and all this other shit, crazy shit is happening. But yeah, I couldn't choose which one I prefer, but then there's so many aspects that make them different and special. So yeah, I didn't want to put one and not the other. So Alien and Aliens. Not number 3, not Resurrection. No, thank you. Those movies can jog on. But if you want to see number 3, at least check out the director's cut. Obviously that's directed by David Fincher, which is quite shocking. When I was growing up, I never knew that. And obviously getting more into films as I got older, I was kind of like, so the guy who made Fight Club made Alien 3. Okay, that's very different. Obviously it was one of his early movies and he's not a big fan of that film. But you know, Alien 3 has aspects that I like. So yeah, check that one out if you want to. Number 2, so this is one that I have in my most controversial list. It's The Exorcist. Don't have the DVD on me, I'm sorry. It's somewhere upstairs. But yeah, again, it just freaks the hell out of me. Every time I watch it, every time you know, Reagan is possessed, it is just kind of like, I'm scared of this child, please put it to sleep, put it away, get it away from me. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it, to be honest, what I haven't said in my controversial movies already. But yeah, please check it out if you've never seen The Exorcist. I mean, it's the most iconic horror film of all time. And there's a really good documentary by Mark Kermode. I think they've kind of like remastered it and brought it back out. It's on the Blu-ray special edition that I have, and it's fantastic because he says it's his favourite film of all time. Mark Kermode is fantastic, and I like listening to his stuff, so if he says it's a good film, then it is a good film. But yeah, from my aspect, I mean, growing up watching it, I was just like, this is some crazy shit, and I'm watching it really young. But you know, movies just shape who we are, and I'm not saying I'm gonna become possessed or I'm gonna start being, you know, swearing at people, but I'm just gonna, you know, it's movies that kind of stick with us, and yeah, they're just amazing movies. And then now we come to our number 1, which has been my number 1 for a very long time, and it's Halloween by John Carpenter, of course. This is again, I watched this quite recently with my husband because again, he hadn't seen it in a while, and obviously Michael Myers is another kind of killer in a game called Dead by Daylight. But yeah, this movie growing up, I was scared by Michael Myers because he is just the silent killer aspect, is that he doesn't talk. He gets up as soon as you kind of shoot him or stab him or anything, and he's just extremely powerful. So it's not even like he's human, it's kind of like he's just this kind of entity, and you just kind of like, this, nothing stopping this guy. Even, what was it, in like Resurrection or whatever it was, they chopped off his head, and then I was just like, okay, there's no more after that. And then there's another one, and it ends up being someone that, you know, that stupid shit. But then when you think about this one, it is, as a standalone movie, this would be amazing. But the fact that they had to like make more and more and more, and you know, number 2 is okay, and then the new version that they made I do quite like. It's nothing on this. Like, this is masterpiece. And obviously Jamie Lee Curtis, she is one of my favorite actresses of all time in this. Obviously it's like one of her kind of breakout roles. I don't know if this was her first one or if it was The Fog or anything, I can't remember. But yeah, when it comes to Halloween, it is amazing. And yeah, I got this beautiful steelbook edition. When it came out, I was like, I'm on the hunt for this. And it's got this beautiful picture of Michael on the back. This is actually one of the scenes that freaks me out more than anything. That's when my anxiety gets a little bit like when Laurie's in the, you know, in the cupboard, and he's like trying to open it and break it. I'm just like, get out of there, get out of there. And of course I've seen it like a million times and I know what happens, but the kind of the build up of the music, and John Carpenter's like dun dun dun, and I was just like, you know he's close, you know he's gonna fucking kill someone. But yeah, that is my number 1 and always will be my number 1 horror film of all time. And that is my list. That is 22 minutes of me talking about my favourite horror films. And of course I can go on all day long, but I'm not going to, because I'm sure some people have already turned off. But if you're watching to the end, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm sorry this has taken so long. It's kind of getting the courage to do it and actually filming, and today I thought was a good day to do it because it's quite gloomy outside. But yeah, let me know what your list is. If you don't agree with me or you agree with me on anything, please let me know. I'll be happy to talk about horror films constantly. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe and like the whole shabam, and I will see you guys tomorrow. So take care, bye.